Indiana basketball is ramping up the pressure in the transfer portal, hosting two top 10 players.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, it is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Well, thank you so much. Hope you had a fantastic weekend and getting your week started right. And you're doing it the correct way right here with Locked On Hoosiers. Later on in the episode, we're going to talk about Darian DeVries as Indiana offers a top 2027 point guard and how he was also at the Indiana High School basketball state finals and how all that kind of works together, right? But the big news is what is happening today on this Monday, the final day of March. Indiana with a roster that is completely empty. There is not a single player left on the team, hosting two of the top 10 players in the transfer portal today in Bloomington. We're going to talk about Ryan Conwell from Xavier and Josh Dix from Iowa. And before we jump into those, though, I just want to circle back to this idea of the fact that there are no players on this roster. And fans are starting to get a little bit worried. They're starting to be concerned. They're saying, well, why couldn't he retain any of the talent? Why didn't they want to stay at Indiana? Or maybe they found better offers elsewhere, right? Things like that. And it seems like some fans were starting to get a little concerned, a little worried about that. I just don't think it's a reason for concern. I really don't. I just don't think it's that big of a deal because let's remember, this was an Indiana roster that missed the NCAA tournament. You also had several guys graduate, right? Umar Ballo, Luke Goody, who's trying to get that waived. Trey Galloway, right? Those types of guys. But you also had several guys transfer out. Malik Renew, Mackenzie Mbako, Bryson Tucker, right? The freshman who then transfers out, and now you officially have nobody on the team. Gabe Cupps, who's gone to Ohio State. But you're looking at a roster when Darian DeVries arrived, and he's looking at this thing, and he goes, I just don't know if I see anything on here that I really want. I just don't know if anything here really sticks out to me. And he had conversations with these guys, and I think most of them were probably ready to go. But the ones that weren't, he probably gave them an extra boost and a little extra push and said, you should probably go and find a new home. We're gonna rebuild. We're gonna restart here. And that's exactly what he's doing. And for those of you that say it can't work, look at Mark Pope in Kentucky. If they can do it in Lexington, we can do it in Bloomington. We have better facilities. We're a historically better program, and we have more NIL money. That is a fact. And so if it can be done with Mark Pope at Kentucky, why can't it be done with Darian DeVries at Indiana? It's a very stressful process. And that Kentucky team, I think, just overpunched its weight. But they made it to the Sweet 16 in year one, and they're going to be very, very good. They landed great portal targets, and they all worked out, which is a big deal, which is exactly what Indiana is trying to do. And you start with two top 10 players from the portal visiting Bloomington. We'll start with Ryan Conwell, the guard from Xavier, who is getting some love from Texas. He's transferred around a couple of times, but just had his best season as a junior there at Xavier. Of course, his coach, Sean Miller, has just left to be the coach at Texas, where he is getting some interest, and he very well could follow his coach to Texas. But as a junior, this past season at Xavier, averaged 16.5 points, 3 rebounds, 2.5 assists. He shot at 45% from the floor, but what's going to get you excited, Indiana fans? He shot it at 41% from the three-point line. That's right, 41% for a guy that shoots several of them during his time. Started at South Florida, then went to Indiana State, and has now finished up his junior season at Xavier. And this past season, he averaged 3 makes a game on 7 attempts from behind the arc. So that 41% that he's shooting, it's legit. It's not a 2 for 3 here and a 1 for 2 here. No. He shoots it almost 7 times a game from back there, and he knocks them down 41% of the time. 2 of his 3 years in college, he has shot it over 40%. His freshman year, he didn't. He shot it at 30%, and he shot what he saw 3 per game. He went 1 for 3 in his games as a freshman. That got better as a sophomore at Indiana State, and now he just completed a fantastic year at Xavier. He's from Indy. He's an Indianapolis kid, and you have a chance to bring him home to the Hoosier State. And I think this is somebody who is a very good shooting guard. That's what he played. It's what he mostly plays because of his scoring ability. He's not the most passing first type of guy. He averaged 2.5 assists per game. And I think when you watch his film, he makes the right decisions most of the time. But he is more of I'll say selfish. That comes with negative connotation, but he is a selfish guard because he knows how good he is. He can shoot off the bounce. He can shoot off the pass, off of a screen, right? A high ball screen. He's not afraid to let that thing fly, but he also does like to get to the rim, and it's pretty much layups and threes for this guy. He either is going to shoot it at the rim, which he does at a higher rate. He shoots it over 50% inside the paint, or he looks for the open 3, and he will make the extra pass when it's necessary. And look, that Xavier team had some shooters at times, not great, not terrible. I mean, they had their moments, especially down the stretch, but this is a Conwell kid that in their last couple of games, man, he was balling out. He had 12 in their first round game where they lost to Illinois. He had 11 against Texas in the first 4. You want to know what he did in the Big 12 or the Big East quarterfinals? He had 38 points against Marquette in a loss and a losing efforts to Marquette in the Big East quarterfinals. In 35 minutes, shot 72% for the game, shot 63%, almost 64% from downtown, and had 38 points in the Big East quarterfinal game. He's a big-time player, and this would be his biggest step yet, going from South Florida, Indiana State, Xavier, where he has been playing Power 5 ball, and could step in and play in the Big Ten. He's legit. He's a shooter. He's a scorer. His defense is fine. He's not a great defender. He's good enough. He can get by. Okay. He's not going to blow you away. He can stay in front of somebody and pick their pocket every now and then. But you're going to see some potential blow-bys. You're going to see some points given up. It is what it is. That's not where he prides himself. It's on the offensive end with Ryan Conwell, the Xavier transfer, who is on campus today. If you're watching this when it comes out, if you're listening to this on Monday, the 31st of March, he is on campus today. But so is somebody else. Another guy is coming in, one that we've talked about. Conwell, by the way, just before we get to that, Conwell, according to 247, is ranked 9th in the portal as the top 10 rankings for the current players in the transfer portal. Conwell is ranked 9th. I've got another guy coming up who's ranked 5th. We'll talk about Josh Dix from Iowa and why this could be a perfect fit in Bloomington. Coming up next here on the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. The tournament is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. An all one seed Final Four, man. Only happened twice in the history. This is the second time it's ever happened. Did you have it? Did you predict it? I didn't have it, but you can still get in on the action with the Final Four coming up with FanDuel, because right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 to use on everything from buzzer beaters to, well, no more Cinderella stories, but maybe you can pick that national champion if you want to, and even to who's cutting down those nets, right? You can stay in the action with tournament games happening all the time in the Final Four and the national championship. There's always something exciting to bet on with college basketball. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. That's FanDuel.com. Welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. Appreciate you being here again, making this your go-to spot for all things Indiana athletics on a basketball-heavy show today. Reminder, we're going to talk about a 2027 point guard that Indiana offered. He talked with 247 a little bit and gave some of his comments about how he is honored that he got an offer from Indiana. Plus, why it's cool to see Darian DeVries show up at the Indiana State High School Championship. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Gonna talk some Josh Dix in just a moment, but you know the drill. If you're listening on audio or you're watching on video, your support has been incredible. So thank you so much for being here. We've pushed 5,200 subscribers. I think we were one away as of this morning. And so thank you so much for that. March is going to go down as the best month in the history of this show, and you are the reason for that. So thank you so much. And if you're listening on audio, follow us over there, turn on those notifications, have a 5-star review ready to go for us. We appreciate that if you do that. Send it to your family and friends. We want everybody to be listening. And if you're watching on YouTube, it's a simple process. Like it, hit the thumbs up, right? Make sure you do that. Comment your thoughts down below. Conwell and Dix. We're going to talk about Josh Dix here in just a moment. Are you excited for these guys? Are these ones that you want to see land at Indiana? And who are some other names that you want to see as well? Had an episode yesterday, in case you missed it, about Floyd Badunga, the transfer from Kansas. So be sure you check that out. And then subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Well, as exciting as Ryan Conwell is, and I think there's a lot of potential there. And I think the chances of that happening are pretty high. I'll give some percentages here in a little bit. There's a lot of excitement for a guy like Josh Dix, the Iowa transfer, who is also visiting Indiana. Josh Dix just finished his junior season in Iowa. Of course, their head coach got canned. He is now in the transfer portal, as is a lot of their players. They're trying to retain him, but Josh Dix is on the way out. Doesn't seem like he's going to return there to the Iowa Hawkeyes. As a junior, 6'6", 210 pounds, the shooting guard that Josh Dix is, averaged 14 points this year, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, and shot 51% from the floor. But same way we talked about Conwell is why you're excited about Josh Dix as well. This season, 24-25, he shot it at 42% from behind the three-point line. Let me say all those numbers again for you. Shot it at 42% from the three-point line, 50% from the floor overall, had 3 assists, 3 rebounds per game, and averaged just over 14 points a contest, okay? And in this season, where he shot 42%, he went 2 for 5 almost every single game. 2 for 4.8 is technically what the numbers say. So he averaged 2 makes a game on almost 5 attempts per game. We'll take that. Again, the volume is there. Same way with Conwell. Dix is the exact same. They're shooting the basketball and they're making the basketball. Josh Dix has not had a season, folks, in his entire career. He has not had a season where he shot it under 40% from the three-point line. Think about that. All 3 years at Iowa, listen to these numbers. 40%, 42%, 42%. That's pretty incredible, if you ask me. There's no fluke there. The guy is a shooter. He is a shot maker. He's a shot creator. He is a straight-up baller, right? Josh Dix is awesome. And he's also got the size, which is really exciting because Conwell, he's 6'4", 215, right, as a combo guard. Josh Dix is just a tall sniper at 6'6". He can get to the lane. He can create some shots, but he wants to shoot. And I like his rebounding too. And he gives you a little bit more defense as well since he's got the length. He's got a little bit more of the agility. And look, he helped Iowa this year. They weren't great by any means, but you start looking at his game logs, man, and you study the numbers in here. He's a double-digit scorer every time, but the big games are in there. Scored 26 against Rutgers, had 27 against Purdue, right? Had 19 against UCLA. He had 31 against Nebraska this year. Like, the dude can play. Didn't play great against us. He shot the ball well, had 12 points, though, when they played Indiana early in the season back in January. So you talk about somebody in Josh Dix that can elevate your three-point shooting immediately. That's what he would do. Ryan Conwell would do that as well. And I'm sure a lot of you are going to ask, and I want to talk about this. Well, can Indiana land both? Absolutely, you can. I think you very well could land both. But then you got to start thinking, okay, how do they fit into the system together? And also, how do they fit into the system with Tucker DeVries, who is supposed to be stepping into this roster as well? Of course, the son of Darian DeVries from West Virginia. He's also a three-point shooting lengthy guard. So you bring in three guys that play a very similar style of basketball. Yes, there could be some conflictions, but I don't think you worry about that right now. If you're DeVries, I think you bring in as much talent as you can and you figure it out later, because at the end of the day, talent's going to take over and talent's going to win you some games. And I trust him enough as a successful head coach to figure it out. And you also, I mean, you don't want to ignore signs if there's some things there, but I don't think anything's going to be there. I think you have a really good chance. Tucker DeVries is going to be an Indiana Hoosier, right? We know that. We're accepting that. We can kind of move on from that. We can move on from that one, right? We can accept that that's going to happen. But with Conwell and Dix visiting Indiana today, yeah, I mean, I think it would be tough to get both, especially with Tucker DeVries coming in. But I think Indiana would be fine with either one. Just a gut feeling. This is not reporting. This is just a opinion feeling for me. I feel like you have a better chance to land Ryan Conwell than you do Josh Dix. I'll put it on a 70% for Conwell and probably a 40% for Josh Dix right now. Just a gut feeling. Again, this is all me here. And the reason I say that is because Josh Dix and Tucker DeVries play a very similar style in the same position. They're big shooting guards. They're big shooting guards, okay? And not necessarily the shooting guard, but that's what they are. That's what they do. Conwell could move into a point guard spot if you needed him to. He can handle the basketball, he could bring it up the floor, and he could kind of, maneuver the offense around a little bit. Dix and DeVries, however, are big spot-up shooters that just want to let it fly. And that could be a conflict, sure, absolutely. Unless you run a three-guard system, which I don't know if DeVries is going to do. He very well could, and maybe that's what he convinces these guys that he's going to do, and that's why they would commit. Or maybe you convince one of them to come off the bench. Hey, you're going to be our sixth man. You're going to play 20 to 25 minutes, but you're not going to start for us. And maybe that's what it is too. I have a feeling it would not be Tucker DeVries coming off the bench, but I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. So I think it would be tough to get all three, but I feel confident in two. DeVries being the obvious. I'll put Conwell as a higher percentage and then Josh Dix, but don't take it off the table to land all three. And if you do, you're talking about three of the best shooters that Indiana has seen in years, decades, it seems like, because you're talking about guys that shoot at 35, 40, and 45% from three. That is no joke. And not only can they shoot it like that, they will shoot it like that. They'll have the green light to let that thing go because they've proven they can do it at West Virginia, Xavier, and Iowa. And Indiana's trying to bring them home right now. Ryan Conwell from Xavier and Josh Dix from Iowa on campus on Monday to visit Indiana. Two of the top 10 ranked players in the transfer portal are visiting Indiana today. All right, coming up here on our final segment on Locked On Hoosiers, going to talk a little high school recruiting as the Hoosiers have offered a 2027 point guard. Sounds weird to me too, but it's only a year and a half away. 2027 point guard talks about his Indiana offer. Plus, Darian DeVries visiting some high school state championship games. We'll talk about why that's important and wrap it all up next here on Locked On Hoosiers.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the bracket breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
So we are in the final four of the NCAA tournament, but be sure you keep checking out our bracket breakdown. Those guys have done an incredible job. Gordon Hayward's on that staff. He's on the set. He's talking basketball here on the Locked On Podcast Network. So be sure that you're checking that out. If you got an Amazon Fire TV like I do, I've got a big one in the living room. Just search Bracket Breakdown on your TV. It'll pop up. You can watch all the previous episodes and all the stuff that they're doing through the Final Four and through the National Championship game, which is a week from today. Isn't that crazy? The tournament just over, just like that in a week, man. It's unbelievable. With 4 1 seeds in the tournament, Florida and Auburn, Duke and Houston, I mean, just they're the four best teams. It really is no secret. They are the best teams in the tournament, and they just smoked everybody on their way there. But we'll have some fun with that later on in the week. But Indiana offers a 2027 point guard. Yes, 2027. And folks, when I read this the other day, I was like, 27? That's forever from now. It's like, oh, wait a minute. We're almost in April of 2025. That's not that far away. And as you all know, if you follow recruiting, you have to be in it. You have to be so far ahead of the game, it's not even funny. And when you start talking about a coaching change and Darian DeVries having to step in, you're already behind and you're trying to play catch up before you can get ahead. And the way you do that is you offer one of the top point guards in the 2027 class. It's Chase Branham. All right. He's in the top 25 or the top 100 of 2027. He's from Missouri, but he's played some major AAU ball with KC and somebody that is very, very talented. Okay. When you start talking about some of his numbers, 6'4", 175 pounds from Missouri, top 60, top 70 player, kind of depending on where you look. You can probably creep up a little bit. Currently a 3-star. I think it's somebody that DeVries and his new staff that's still coming together, of course. I think it's someone that they see a lot of potential in, someone that they wanted when he was at West Virginia. And Branham actually talks about that. He sat down and talked with 247 a little bit about his scholarship offer that Indiana has given him. And he talked about, its honor and how he's, proud of himself and he's excited for Indiana, like one of the biggest programs in the history of the sport, to give him a scholarship offer. And he mentioned how they went and visited him a couple of times in high school when DeVries was at West Virginia. And one of his quotes, again, this is from 247 you check that out on their websites. He says, look, not many people came to watch my games when I was in high school at the place where I was at. I mean, just a smaller school. And he said, not many people came to watch, but they came and watched several times from West Virginia. So they were interested. Missouri is interested. And now Indiana is interested. And look, I'm excited for him, man. 6'4", 175 pounds. He's going to have to get a little bit bigger, but he can shoot. He can just flat out fly, man. He's quick as everything. So, just somebody that I think Indiana is hoping to see progress and get better, maybe elevate to that 4-star status, maybe try to get into that top 50. And DeVries obviously believes in him. If he was interested at West Virginia and he's still interested at Indiana, and just trying to get ahead, or as I said, really just caught up in this whole recruiting idea. And the way you do that is you go and watch some state championship games here in the state of Indiana. I'm sure you've all seen and heard by now, but Darian DeVries stopped by, watched a couple of the state finals, I believe 3A and 4A, right? I think those are the classes that he saw the other night where he had a courtside seat. Several other college teams are there, but what a great idea for Darian DeVries to step in and go and watch some high school basketball. Within the first week that he took the job, timing worked out perfectly. You had the biggest games of the year in the state of Indiana for high school basketball, and you went and sat and you watched and you talked to people. That's a big, big deal, folks. And some of you may say, do they even know who he is? Yeah, a lot of them probably know who he is. He was just in West Virginia. He wasn't in California. He wasn't in Alaska, right? He wasn't in China. He was in West Virginia, and he is a really, really good coach. He's been in the NCAA tournament. He recruits like crazy. People know who this guy is, and it's a perfect opportunity for those that don't, for them to meet him and figure it out. And so, sure, it's showing face a little bit. It's shaking hands, kissing babies. Yeah, I get it. But that's what you have to do. You've got to do that here at Indiana. And hearing that he's already making the right calls and reaching out to the right folks and recruiting and making his presence felt already, plus he's going and doing things like this, that's a good sign. It's a good sign to be offering kids like Chase Branham from 2027. It's a good sign to be going to watch a basketball and getting into the transfer portal and trying to get high school kids. He's made it clear. He wants to build from the high school ranks. 2025 may be difficult to do that, but you can do that moving forward. You can build for 26, 27, and beyond. That's exactly what Darian DeVries is doing. And so, look, I'm impressed so far with the little bit of work that he's been able to do because of all the other things that come with taking a new job, but he's hit the ground running. And between offering kids in high school and bringing 2 top 10 portal players on campus, you can't be more impressed. yeah, you'd love to see some commitments. You'd love to see some players get on that roster that's currently empty, but it's going to be just fine. And I think DeVries has done a fantastic job, and we'll see where it goes. Maybe some commitments come. Maybe they come today. Maybe they come tomorrow. But Indiana's got to start making up some ground, getting some dudes on this team and building for the future. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Thank you again so much for being here. We're having a ton of fun. March has been crazy, and all we can hope is that when we flip the calendar to April tomorrow, that we do more of the same. If you haven't already, subscribe to this YouTube channel, comment your thoughts down below, like the video as well. My audio listeners, follow us, turn on those notifications, leave us a 5-star review, and we're back tomorrow, Hoosier fans. So until then, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.